Welcome everyone. Welcome to another episode of the GrowCast show. So today we have Mr. Hus Salamat, Associate Marketing Director of a real estate company in Singapore. Welcome to the show, Hus. How are you feeling today?
Good, very good. Thank you.
Good, nice. All right. Let's start with the first question. Why did you decide to become a real estate agent?
Okay, basically it's based on cliche answer lah. Basically, I want to help people. Okay, because what I realize is property is one of someone's biggest financial decision ever in their lifetime. Okay, so it's also based on my personal experience whereby I have some friends who invested in a condo without having any good advisors and end up they are now in debt. So it's one of the reason why I feel that I want to help people, and that feeling of helping people secure their dream home is very next level feeling lah. So that's why I wanted to become a real estate agent.
Can Singaporeans really trust real estate agents?
Okay, first of all, before I answer that question, I will need to tell you that real estate agents in Singapore are now governed and regulated by CEA, Council Estate of Agency. So there's no hanky-panky. Real estate agents cannot do as and what they like previously last time lah. Okay, and I also feel that the correct question to ask is not whether you can trust a real estate agent, but whether that real estate agent can help you identify what is a good move for you next, as well as providing you advices that is according to your own situation.
Why do people even need a property agent nowadays?
Okay, let's be real lah. Nowadays, property listings are easily accessed by people, by the public, and also informations are out there freely. But it's a point worth noting that we real estate agents, we do this every day. We know the ins and outs. We have the stats. We have the data. What we provide is not just transactional. We provide services that is more than that, such as providing you with information of whether this move is a good move for you, whether this property suits your lifestyle, suits your finances, and so on. So that's the point that I feel that is priceless lah. If you're talking about why you need a real estate agent to serve your best interest in a transaction.
What makes you different from other real estate agents?
Okay, basically for me, I don't try to hard sell everyone. I don't tell them, okay, you should sell, you should upgrade, you should buy this, you should buy that. It's not transactional for me. When a client engage me, I feel I need to have some personal touch with the clients. Okay, so what I believe every person's situations is different, and my job is to help them understand what makes sense for them first before they make the move.
Should young Singaporeans still aim to buy a home as early as possible?
Okay, generally yes. Okay, the earlier you enter the property market, the more time you have to build your equity as well as build more options for the future. But my take is don't rush. Make sure you are financially ready before you make the move. In fact, many people are closer than they think they are. They just haven't taken enough time to understand what is available for them.
How much money do I really need to buy my first home?
Okay, basically this one, there's no fixed number of how much money you need. It depends on your income, your CPF grants, as well as the financial tool that is, in other words, your loan lah. Basically how much you need to purchase a property. So what I realize is many first-time buyers, they don't actually realize that they don't need so much cash upfront when they purchase a property. That's why they need to understand their affordability first before they make the purchase.
Is it better to buy a BTO, a resale HDB, or a condo as a first home?
Again, cliche answer lah. There's no right or wrong option in this question. It depends on your ultimate goal. Okay, as you all know, BTO, they are subsidized housing by the government, so it's cheaper and it's definitely more worth then you buy a resale lah, definitely, because it's cheaper, it's subsidized by the government. But one thing you need to take note is for BTO, there are longer waiting time, usually 2 or 3 years, and you also need to ballot for your BTO. Okay, because I have some friends, they try to ballot for a certain type of location in Singapore, in the east side of Singapore, for years already, for 4 or 5 years, but they still never get that ballot number that they want. So end up they waste 4 to 5 years waiting for their first home, instead of whereby they can actually buy a resale and start their property journey early. So at the end of the day, my take is it's up to you whether you can wait to purchase your first home, whether you have a place to stay before you purchase while you are waiting for your BTO, because not everyone can stay with their in-laws. So make sure you know what you can and what is your needs before you decide whether you need a BTO, a resale. And condo-wise, it's totally a different ballgame because that one is dependent on your affordability. So if you can afford a condo for your first time buying, definitely better.
What is the biggest mistake first-time buyers make?
Okay, what I feel is they focus too much on today's needs and not on tomorrow's plans. Your first property should not be a burden to you. It should be something that is accommodating to you as well as your family, as well as your spouse, your wife or your husband lah. And it should also support your family's goals in the future. Whether you are having a big family, whether your parents are coming to stay with you, and also whether you have the intention to upgrade to a bigger space in the future. It all depends on what your future planning is.
Your HDB has reached MOP. Should you stay, sell or upgrade?
Okay, this is probably one of the most common questions I get from people on the ground. Again, very cliche. It depends on your finances, your long-term goals with your family, and also what you intend to do in the future. Some families should stay because their finances are not yet ready, and some even might consider right-sizing in the future. Not now, but in the future. So that's why when you reach MOP, it's not just a milestone. It's also a space lah. I can say it's a space for you to consider what is your next move. That's why once you reach MOP, it's good for you to do a property health check to check where your finances are, whether the numbers are correct, and what you should be doing for your next property purchase. Even if the numbers are not good, you can just stay for a few years and maybe consider doing another property health check in the future.
What is the biggest mistake HDB owners make after MOP?
Okay, quick answer, by doing nothing. Not because selling is always the answer, but because usually most homeowners, they don't take the opportunity to see what opportunities are there for them in the future. Sometimes knowing your options is much more valuable than making a move right away. So that's my take.
Is staying in your HDB forever always the safest option?
Not necessarily, because sometimes staying is the right option, but sometimes moving is also another right option. The important thing I feel is you need to have an informed decision before you make the next move on what you need to do. So you need to know what are your opportunities and whether you can proceed with the opportunity, or if not, if the numbers financial wise are not correct, you can choose to stay. So it depends. Make sure you are informed of what opportunities are there before you decide on what to do next.
What is the CPF accrued interest and how does it affect your future plans?
Okay, simply put, if as you all know, CPF is not a tool for you to purchase property. In Singapore, it's generally not like that. CPF is for your retirement. It's not the money from CPF is not meant to be used for buying a property. But the government allows you to use CPF to pay your monthly mortgage and to purchase your property. But there's a catch lah. Basically, if you don't use your CPF for any property, every year there will be this thing called accrued interest, whereby the government will give you a percentage of what is available in your CPF. They will top up. Every year they will top up. If it's untouched. But if you use it for property purchase, that interest, accrued interest that they are supposed to give you, now you are the one who needs to top up if you sell your house. So the more CPF you use, the more in the future when you sell your house, the more you accrued interest you need to top up back to your CPF. So it will eat up in your cash proceeds. So simply said, the longer you stay in your property, the more accrued interest there will be, the lesser cash proceeds for you in the future. So it's something you need to ponder lah, whether, even though it's still your money, it goes back to your CPF, but you will have lesser cash proceeds on hand when you want to purchase your next house. So it's something for you to ponder about.
How do homeowners know that it is time to upgrade?
Usually what I see is they know when they need to upgrade is when their current home doesn't meet their lifestyle. Also when their family needs or their family goals are not aligned with their current property. So upgrading shouldn't be just about status. It should be about what's your next chapter is. If your current home is not helping you to achieve what you want or your goals, maybe it's time for you to consider exploring other options.
Can I upgrade without topping up cash every month?
In some situations, yes. Because every house owner's situations are different. Okay, case in point, I have this client whereby they engage me to right size. It's a couple above 55 lah, about to retire. They engage me to right size their current home, and also from the cash proceeds, they want to buy investment property for both of their daughters lah, which both of them not married yet. So they wanted to buy a private property for investment. When I calculated the numbers, I found out that they don't need to right size before getting the cash proceeds, they can even upgrade first before they help their two daughters to get their investment property. So you can see from there, it doesn't mean you always need to downsize or right size before you purchase another property. Sometimes you don't know the numbers, but sometimes it might be enough for you to even right size at the age of 55. So you can see lah from there lah. Yeah, so it's not always what you seem to think it is lah.
How do I know whether to buy a resale condo or a new launch?
Again, it depends on your goals. Okay, the thing about resale condo and new launch is more or less the same concept as BTO and resale lah. For new launch, it takes a longer time for you to access the home because there will be a period of you waiting maybe 2 to 3 years before you finally get to stay in your new launch condo. For resale, it's the same lah. Resale is resale. So it depends on your goal, your timeline, whether you can afford to wait for a few years before you get access to your new home or whether you are in a rush to get your next purchase. So the right answer usually becomes clearer once you know what you can or what you cannot do or what your timeline is.
What would you tell someone who dreams of upgrading but feels it's impossible?
I would tell them not to decide that it's impossible before getting to know the numbers first. I've seen a lot of homeowners thinking that they couldn't afford to upgrade but only to realize later that they actually have more options to upgrade. So the first step isn't about upgrading itself, but it's about knowing what options you have to make in the future.
Why are more Singaporeans choosing to right size?
What I can say is because many realize that they no longer need as much space as before. So that's one of the reasons why they feel it's the right time to downsize or right size. Maybe their kids have moved out, they are already married, moved out, and priorities change. And I have some feedbacks from elderly couples who feels that they are just staying with their husband and wife in a big house, so they don't need much space because more spaces leads to more cleaning, more efforts to clean, more efforts to maintain, much more money to maintain. So that's why most elderly Singaporeans lah, or all those senior Singaporeans feel that they need to right size before they have their forever home lah, so called.
Is there an ideal age to start thinking about right sizing?
There's no specific number on when you should start thinking about right sizing. What I can recommend, usually what I tell my clients is try to get the biggest quantum house or biggest home you can get before you reach 54. Because by the time you reach 55, if you want to sell your house, all your CPF that goes to your OA, ordinary account, will go to your retirement account where it will be locked. So once it locked, you cannot use it to purchase your next property already. It's ideal before 54, but doesn't mean you need to be 54 lah, because there are ways whereby people use half of their money from their retirement account to purchase for their next property. It's case-to-case basis, but it has been done before lah.
Is a fully paid up home enough for retirement?
Okay, a fully paid home is definitely a fantastic achievement lah, I can say. But retirement is not just about having a roof over your head. It's also about cash flow, flexibility, and also having a peace of mind after you retire. So when you retire, you definitely need some cash before you can retire lah, in other words lah. So if you just have a roof over your head but you don't have cash and you still need to work part-time, it's also something that is not ideal. While I say that it's a fantastic achievement to fully pay off your HDB after you retire, but you need to understand that most of your cash or CPF are all locked in that four walls of your property. So how to unlock that cash? That's where I come in lah. I will advise you accordingly on how to retire with a roof over your head as well as some cash for you to comfortably retire on.
What does retire comfortably through property actually mean?
Okay, it goes back to my previous points where I mentioned that it's ideal for you to right size before you want to retire. Okay, what's the age? Ideally is 54. Okay, so this concept of retirement with your property means the highest quantum, you need to purchase the highest quantum before you turn 54, so that once you reach 54, you right size from your biggest home to maybe a 3-room flat, 3-room HDB. So what does it do? Basically, you fully pay off your 3-room flat and you still have some cash for you to retire on. So at least, you know, you have a roof over your head, you have some cash, you can decide whether you want to invest on that cash or you decide to give people or whatsoever. So it's something you can consider on lah. Okay, because let's be real, people in Singapore, it's hard for us to have savings. So this is one of the way you can retire with a fully paid roof over your head as well as some cash for you to spend on.
All right, that was a very exciting insight that we have from Hus. Thank you, Hus, for
Thank you very much.
coming over. And that's all we have for today's episode. Again, this is Hus Salamat, Associate Marketing Manager from a real estate company in Singapore. We'll see you in the next episode.